Hello, ladies.
Hello.
So good to see you. Nora, you're in. We're not going to lose you this time.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's perfect.
Oh, excellent. So Leticia isn't here yet, but she may be joining us. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes just to acknowledge our team and our sponsor, Ontario Creates. I'm Leslie Ann Coles, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Female Eye. And I'm so excited to have you both here. Caytha, can you type in the title of your film?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Cool.
Let's see how I edit name.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Why wouldn't? Of course.
of course. So it's late there, Nora, but we'll talk about that in a second. I'm so glad that you're in the room. So the Female Eye is celebrating its 19th edition, obviously. We have moved to a virtual platform for our industry initiatives, but I'm excited that we can actually meet and get together and actually see each other. It's not the same as obviously sitting in the theater eating popcorn and going out and having drinks with each other afterwards or before, but it's good to see you both, and I'm really delighted you were able to join us. Ontario Creates are the sponsor of the Industry Initiatives program. That's all of our panels, industry sessions. Tomorrow we have two really great ones. One is about distribution, content in review, and that is at 4 p.m. And then we have Meet the Funders, or Meet the Decision Makers, but they are funders. And that is at 2 p.m. So anyone who's in the room or joining us on YouTube, please come in and check out those panels tomorrow. And we have other things going on throughout the week. So, ladies, you're both filmmakers and screenwriters, and I just wanted to ask you about this project specifically. I'm going to start with Nora. Nora, you were one of 3 writers on Cream, and how I'm just curious to know. I mean, it's hard enough to write a screenplay with yourself, let alone 2 people, let alone 3 people. So I'm curious to know about that process.
Yeah, actually, the original story. Leticia is here.
Leticia.
Sorry, I'm late.
Leticia, A State of Madness, joining us from the Dominican Republic. I should say, Nora is joining us from Hungary. And Caytha, you're in LA, right?
No, I'm in New York City.
Oh, you're in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Leticia, just a little housekeeping. Can you type the title of your film in your window?
Sure.
Okay. So we were just starting, and I wanted to ask you each a very specific question about your project. Nora, there were 3 screenwriters on Cream. Absolutely loved the film. We need to laugh. It's such a great romantic comedy. Honestly, I love it visually in every single way. So tell us about that process. Whose idea was it? Where did the story come from?
Yeah, so the story came from Fruzsina Fekete, who is a Hungarian screenwriter as well. And I never met her before because a producer that I used to work a lot with just called me that there is a script and there's a first draft of it. And if I'm interested, then I should read it and then let's talk about it. So that happened. And then at that time, Fruzsina stayed in Malaysia. So, and I was in Hungary. So we started to work together via Skype, which was not so common that time as today. So we started to work together. We developed the story a bit, and then we applied to the National Film Fund, and we got supported. Luckily, so we started to work together on it, and we regularly had a conversation. But actually, Fruzsina was the one who wrote it, and we were the one who gave ideas and tried to shape the story, because that was her first feature, and before she didn't write a screenplay, but the original stuff was really, really great, and we shaped it together, to finalize it. And I think that both of us brought a lot of experience of our own lives, especially love, desperate love stories from our life. And when 3 girls just come together and talk about men and love, then there are many stories coming up.
It's so visually amazing. The idea of her creating pastries and treats and cupcakes and things named after famous failed relationships was just truly original. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Yeah,
So
actually,
yeah.
it was because my mother is really in love with Alain Delon since 30 years. So when I was a child, I was watching all the Alain Delon French films, and that's why, for example, Alain Delon and Romy Schneider was one of these cupcakes that formed in the films.
Oh, I just wanted sweets eating it, I'll tell you that.
Mm.
Leticia, you are also a writer-director. You wrote and
Yes,
directed A State of Madness.
that's
Yes.
right.
And so do you always write and direct your productions, or do you work with other directors or other writers, or I'm just curious about your process.
Yes, well, actually, let me just correct myself. I didn't. This is the only film I haven't co-written. Um, it's the first time I'm doing it, and I guess when you're starting, as a filmmaker, and our industry is very small, so you have to do a little bit of everything. So it has become part of my creative process just to be involved on the script writing. But this is the first time I'm just working with other script writers, and of course collaborating with them. But I didn't write, and I have to say the experience
That's
was
right.
refreshing.
So who came to you? Did they come to you with the script for you to direct?
Yes, there was a company that was developing the project since 10 years. And, it's based on a book, a very well-known Dominican book called Mis 500 Locos. It would be like my 500 lunatics, something like that, the literary translation. And when the producers approached me, they already have a pretty advanced draft of the script, and I fell in love with it. The richness of the characters, the mood, the film. You could smell it in the script that it had a lot of personality, and I fell in love with it.
It's very noir, and it's also, we talked about this, I think we spoke about this in an interview we did together, but it is very, I equate it with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, set in the Dominican Republic at an interesting time in political history of your country. And I haven't read the book, obviously. I don't know if it's available in English, but what an incredible story. What an incredible story. And also,
Thank you.
even though it deals with very serious issues of gross abuse of people who are institutionalized with mental health, it has brevity and humor. And I absolutely love the protagonist. Your main character, the doctor, is just brilliant. So we go on that journey with him. But we'll talk more about the story. The reason I'm in love with this panel is that each of you have collaborated. It's been a collaboration. Most of the films that come to the female eye are written and directed by the same person. 100%, 90% of the films that come to the festival every year, the director wrote the screenplay. And in this particular scenario, it just worked out beautifully that you all are involved, obviously, in story, in the execution of the story as directors. So that brings me to Caytha. So, Caytha, you are the screenwriter of
Yep.
Pooling to Paradise. You're also a director
Yes. But I see myself really as a writer producer. So
on
yeah,
this.
that's
Yes.
sometimes, but that's in all my work that I'm a writer. And then, as we all do, we make things happen as a producer. And then, if it makes sense, I'm a director too. Yeah.
And so, did you shape the visual, the cinematography? Did you? I mean, it's very interesting for those of you who haven't seen Pooling to Paradise. It is on Encore Plus until March 28th. No, it's off now.
Yeah, because we have a
Ah,
distribution deal. But I'm
well,
happy to send, if
Mhm.
people come to me, I'm happy to share a link. It was just, with our distribution deal, I had to be very sensitive.
yes, yes, of course. I remember it went off on the after it was on for the weekend, the 19th to
Yeah.
the 21st, if I remember correctly. Well, we look forward, we're going to see it somewhere, and we'll talk about that closer to the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
But what a wonderful, I mean, it's shot in a car. Literally 90% of the film is shot inside a car with four people, right?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved the cinematography and the claustrophobic intimacy and
Mhm.
these completely diverse characters. Really super and very well done. So when you
Yeah.
wrote it, did you have a very specific, did you write it with the visual treatment in mind?
No, and that's where I relied on Roxy, who directed it. She just wasn't available, but to do that. But I mean, a lot of my, like, I start with character and story and ideas, and many of my writing, and it's interesting because I'm in a Jungian film school right now. I kind of channel, you know, um, existential philosophy and Jung and whatever to get into my storytelling, and which are always very contemporary stories, and there's always a comedic element to it. And I just thought, when you're in a car, because it's a road movie, and I wanted to have put these four strangers who are at a crossroads in their life, who are sort of stuck. And I always found that when you're on a road trip with somebody you do know, and it's a long trip, like, you end up knowing everything about them. And I kind of wanted to do that peeling of the onion of ourselves that at first were sort of, and that is to the Jung thing about the persona, what we put out, and then we have to get to the self. So I feel like that's kind of what I was trying to do in this car, where these people start out presenting how they want to be perceived, and through this connection and through sort of vulnerability, because I'm also a huge fan of Brené Brown, where I think especially women are much better at being vulnerable. That's where our strength comes from, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I felt like, okay, why I wanted somebody else to sort of help, that's more visual, in how we create this world. And my last film was equally like a ensemble piece, but I did, it was important to me, that the characters drive the story, and so that's just kind of was my how I tell stories, and they're always sort of plays in many ways too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a sense of the peeling away of these characters, and they became more vulnerable and more exposed as the story evolved, which made it so brilliant. And I don't want to give it away, but I wanted to ask you all about your casting process. So great actors, they all really resonated and jumped off the screen. I mean, they jumped off the page, and it really started with the writing. So I'm going to go back to Nora. Did you cast a wide net? Did you know who you were going to cast as your lead?
Yeah, before I started this film, I was directing a TV series quite a lot. So for 4 ages, so but that means that I knew almost everyone in Hungary, or the actors. So I had this photo board that I made at the beginning of the process, and actually, like 80% of the actors became the same that were already on the board. What was really challenging, the main character Dora, who is Vica Kerekes, is a not so well-known actress here in Hungary, but she is originally a Slovakian, and she's really, really a big star in Czech Republic. because she works in 3 different countries here in the neighbors. So so that was and I loved her from at the beginning, and so it was no question. It was question because my producer thought that maybe it should be someone else, but finally I fight it for her, and she became the lead actress. At the same time, what was really, really hard to find, because she's beautiful, and to find someone who fits here to her. At the same time, he's playful, a man in between 30 and 40. He's playful, charming, cool, masculine, at the same time, sensitive. That's all the women trying to find that kind of man, but it's not so easy. And I think that, I don't know why, but somehow we really ate 5 different casting directors, and we casted everyone, and even not actors and amateurs and improviser, theater people, and we couldn't find anyone. And then László Mátrai, who became the partner of Dóra, was already casted in the film, because I knew him, and but for another role. So, and then that was a moment, and okay, let's try him, because he's absolutely the guy who we are looking for. But I didn't even think about him, because he was another character for me. So, and then they rehearsed, and then it worked really well. So that's how they became, I think, a really good couple finally. And for the children, it was not so complicated, because sometimes I thought that it's going to be challenging, but finally I found Eric quite soon, and he was really, really perfect, because our story is like that. There are adults who are childish, and there is a child who is really like an adult, and he was like an adult from the beginning, and he absolutely his personality really fit to the character, and he already took part in commercials and some international films and some Hungarian films before. So we could see that he can make the whole, because he was almost all the scenes in. So it's like he was shooting with us 25 days. So it's incredible. Quite a lot. So, yeah.
How old is he?
And now he's 14. Mm-hmm. I'm leading a film school for children, and he's coming to us now. And he changed a lot now. Now he grew, and his voice changed and all that. Really funny. But that time, it's good, because, almost all the time when there's a child character, it's always good when he looks smaller than he is actually. And it was the case with Eric as well. So that helped, that he was 12, but he looked like he was 10 or something, or 9. So,
yeah, great casting. I love them. Never lost track of them. Yeah, really great chemistry, really great on-screen chemistry. Leticia, what about you? Can you speak to the casting process? It's a very big cast. You're a film. Very big.
Yes, we have to cast a lot of actors, but since we were looking for them to play mental patients, we have like an internal joke that it was very easy then if you were looking for that amongst actors.
Oh.
So yeah, it's just an internal joke, but
no, it's okay.
But certainly it's very diverse, because we have people from very different backgrounds. For example, the main character, Dr. Zaglur, he actually is a comedian. This is one of his first films, drama films. And at the beginning, I didn't think of him at all. His agent called me, and I was like, "Are you sure? I mean, can he do this?" And he was wonderful. But we have people like with no acting experience at all, like in the role of El Venezolano, who is played by Rick Montero. But then you have veterans like Leah Chapman, who is a Dominican based in Spain, nominated to a Goya, since So she has a lot of experience, and I think that mixture of backgrounds was very enriching to the cast, and gave life and different colors to all the characters we had to portray.
Very diverse cast. And you wouldn't know, I think, because you have the very seasoned actors, very professional actors, and then you have actors who are less known, perhaps not as much experience, but it worked. The ensemble, the collection of actors and characters was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. And since the writing of the script, we already had in mind which actor was going to play what, because in the process I like to cast myself. I rarely rely on the agencies, especially for the main characters. I'm usually very immersed in the process, so it was really nice just working with the writers on the script and just visualizing those faces. I loved it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Caytha, over to you.
Yes.
Casting process.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, especially you need to have some name recognition, and we needed chemistry. And I really wanted to tell a story that had diversity, because I thought it was important to represent the landscape of Los Angeles in particular, and especially with the lead. I thought there was just more layers to each character to explore as these people are figuring out who they are, and like I said, sort of starting someplace and ending someplace else on their own journey. So it was just because we shot it, I think, in 21 days. We were really tight shooting schedule, and Roxy and I kind of came up with ideas. We interviewed actors. You just keep going back. It was who's free, because we knew we needed to shoot it in December, because then we were going to go into Christmas. And then fortunately we did, because then we would have run into the pandemic. Because as you know, and again, especially because when I've cast in New York, it's a lot different than when I've cast in Los Angeles. So it's just a whole different process. And this is the first film I've shot in Los Angeles. I've done all my filmmaking in New York. And so it was just getting people available, people connected. I did talk to all of them as the screenwriter about their characters, and which I like, because I feel like it's a lot of like some sports coaching where you learn, you want the actors to show up on set, and you guys have a shared vision of these characters. So really they're just doing their job, and then it's like the cinematographer and that is finding it, and the director's just kind of keeping them on that path. But it was finding the right ensemble, and the cast we got, like the chemistry they had, which was like amazing. I mean, they gelled from day one. They became really good friends, and so it was a really, really great experience. And that, because they had to basically be in a car. I mean, we had the desert stuff, but they were in a car kind of together for 2 weeks. So you hope you like each other. And they were really great and very generous with just who they are, and really easy to work for.
Were they all LA based actors?
No, Jordan Carlos, who's the driver, is from New York, and the rest are from Los Angeles. So Jordan and I actually met at a Writers Guild event in New York, because I'm on the Guild on the activities committee. I met him, and I go, and he read. I said, "Will you read my script?" And he just loved that character. So we did fly him out, because I just thought he'd be perfect, and I thought, he's just really smart, so he could really take this character to another level. And his humor too was really mine.
I loved him. He made me laugh out loud more than once.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he really, because I tend to write character driven comedies, And I find, oh, if you hire comedic actors or comedians, your funny gets funnier. But he really got it, and that was what was really nice, because I really wanted him to be this sort of shaman, and he really needed to have that understanding and understand what I was going for. So he was from New York. He came out, and everybody else was a local hire.
But just to go back to that, so you didn't, when you were writing, you didn't write.
No.
You didn't write with him in mind, though, that you weren't
No.
crafting the story. Okay.
Yeah, no, I never really, because you don't really, the last project I did was episodic, and that was really, I had that luxury with season 2 to have specific actors in mind when I wrote it. But especially in independent film, when you're not, you don't have huge budgets, and unless you are collaborating with an actor right from the start, you're writing and you have ideas, but then the characters take it to the next level, and you just try to get the best actors as well as the best names, because that's just the nature of the business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of the project and where it's going, what's happening now? I mean, I know some of you have had other screenings. Have they all been virtual? And when did you finish your film? Did you finish it during the pandemic?
You talking to Nora?
I'm talking to all of you, whoever wants to jump in at any time. I'm just really curious because of how many days did you shoot is a really good question. You shot in 21 days. That's incredible. Leticia, Nora, I'll start with Leticia. How many days did you shoot?
We had 3.5 weeks. That would be, like 21 days exactly. It seems to be a fashion.
Wow.
It's very hard. It's very hard to shoot in such a short period. But if this is what we have to do now to have our films made, we will do it. I dream of the day where we can shoot 5 or 6 weeks. Probably I wouldn't know what to do with all that time. And it will be a new challenge, but we have to adapt. And our film was supposed to screen on local theaters on April 2020, but we all know what happened on that first quarter, so we have to wait. And then when the films opened back again in Santo Domingo, it was, I believe, August. We were actually the first film to open local theaters, and it was a challenge just to bring the people back to the movies. But I'm proud that it was our film that did it. It's a very intimate part of our story. The period of the dictatorship was hard on us, so it was like a giving the people courage just to keep living, just like the Dr. Saglun did. He had a very adverse situation, and he kept his good mood, like you mentioned, Leslie.
So you're still open. You once you opened in August, you remained open, yes?
Yes, we have, and I'm happy to say that now, almost 5 months afterwards, the cinemas are starting to really pick up. People, we have a curfew at 9 during weekdays and at 7 during the weekends, and people just keep going to the cinemas. Of course, we have all the protocols, but people just want to go back, and that's a very good sign.
I'm going to come back to you with a couple of questions about that social distancing in the theater type of situation. Fascinating. Nora, how many days did you shoot?
Originally, we were supposed to shoot 28 days, but we couldn't make it. So we added 2 more days, or maybe 3, which was kind of a guerrilla shooting. So we went and we just shot some scenes that we couldn't make before. So that was like 31 days at the end. So we shot quite a lot. So it was okay for us. We finished the film last year, and we had a premiere in the Hungarian cinemas in September 2020. And because of the pandemic, all the cinemas closed at the end of October. So we had like almost 2 months in the cinemas. And now, since that, everything is closed here in Hungary. So, and the situation is even worse than before right now. We are quite, I don't know, maybe during the summer, everybody's hoping that for the summer, everything's going to be open again, and maybe we can get back to the cinemas. But also what is good that HBO bought the film, so we're going to have a premiere on HBO in July. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, and that's a new platform for distribution.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Caytha, you had something to say.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to, because you were like kind of threw it out. So I did, and I actually think we were more like 18 days, and we just jammed it in, and we were hoping for kind of some pickups and to do some drone shooting, which we couldn't do because LA shut down. So, and it was we shot in December. We were doing the beginning of the editing, and that lots of times you figure out what you're missing in that sort of B-roll and during post. And we didn't really get that luxury. We were able to get some B-roll, but we couldn't get the car back. We certainly couldn't get the cast back. And so we got most of it, but we definitely lost it on that. But what I was going to say, so we did do most of post in the pandemic, which had its challenges, but fortunately it is pretty remote. And I have to say, we did it with the New York tax credits and things with the sound mix, did that. I mean, we found a way to social distance, because that sound is very hard to do remotely. Like the edit was at a place where you can share screens and do all that stuff, but really to do a sound mix, you can't really do that. So that, we did wear masks and keep distance. But to what you're talking about, the United States, like we've been shut down, and cinemas and festivals and all that other stuff. And that said, like this became our premiere, and I was very happy for this to be that opportunity. But it is that, especially when you have a comedy, not to have that audience experience. But what I did do, because I just was like, I can't make this little movie and not test it or do something that resembles something. So, and I also thought it was a really nice way for me to work with local establishments. So I did 3 private screenings. I don't even know what time of year we're in. I guess it was in the fall, because I don't even know what month it is now. But yeah, I guess it was in the fall. So there was a theater district restaurant that had a second floor that they used, for private events. And you could do 25%. And to my thing, and that's why theaters are open, I'm like, okay, if people come to watch the movie and we social distance them with chairs and masks on, there's really no risk, because there's not a lot of aerosols happen. I mean, you want people to laugh, but there's not a lot of aerosols going on. So I felt like I was following the rules. I was giving this restaurant, because people dined after, bringing
in New York. Yeah,
this was all in New York.
Okay.
So I did kind of a premiere screening with my kind of friends and family in New York in the fall, just so I could have some idea if the movie worked. And that was a really positive experience. And then I had a friend with a bar in Brooklyn, so I got to do it with different audiences, and we did do screenings there, because she had a big back room. So to their 25%, it meant we could get like 20 or so people. But as we all know, 20 people is fine. And so we did 2 nights there. And then there was a restaurant in New Jersey that had one of those tents and the heat lamps. So in February, I did a 50-person dinner party screening of the movie. And again, all these followed the protocol. And I just feel like we're all independent filmmakers and we're always taking risks. So I just felt it was kind of risking for my art. And I really felt like I disclosed to everybody, you know, if you're comfortable and safe, this is the protocol. You're helping a restaurant and, you know, bring in some business. And I get an opportunity to show my film. And, you know, of course I didn't, you know, I just wanted that opportunity to share it with an audience. So that's how I was able to get some live screenings during the pandemic when most festivals in the US are all virtual.
That is so wonderful. Look at how resilient and creative and determined women are. You know,
Yeah.
the fact that you would think, I mean, that's brilliant. That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that you did that, actually. We're hoping to be able to do some outdoor screenings
Yeah.
in the spring, in the late spring, and then we'll deliver the script development program, which we didn't bring to this iteration because we were all trying to figure out how we're just gonna do this,
Yeah.
and
And
so
you've
I'm
done an
hoping.
amazing job, by the way. Sorry to jump in with that.
Thank you. Well, you know, we had some, we had some challenges, and it seemed odd. You know, you're talking about some limitations in terms of obviously having festival screenings with live audiences. But I came into this thinking we're going to be able to show 75, 72 to 95 films like we normally do, right? Nope. We were really prescribed in terms of how many films and how many. Caytha, you were one of two considered foreign films on Encore Plus. I could only have two foreign films on Encore
Yeah.
Plus, two foreign short films on Encore Plus, and two non-Canadian documentaries on Encore Plus. And I felt like you would have a good audience there. I know it seemed odd because it was free and all of that, but I think it really worked out. I mean, there's been a great response to your film, so I'm excited about that.
Well,
And I
and that,
was
sorry, saying that is the hard thing because, and whatever you can share, because, you know, we don't get that feedback through these virtual things like
Mm-mm.
you may, but like, unless it's there or unless somebody puts it in a comment, you know, you really don't get to feel the audience, which, you
No.
know, is we work this hard. It's what
I know, and we're gonna talk about that in the sort of long game in terms of rolling out your films and what are your plans in terms of distribution and so on. I don't want to lose sight of this because I have to say that for those of you who are watching or will be watching, because we'll be streaming this on the 19th Female Eye playlist on YouTube, all the panels and interviews and sharing them. But A State of Madness and Cream are both launching on Friday the 26th on digital TIFF Bell Lightbox, and they will be available until Monday, March the 29th. And it very different than Encore Plus, where we had a program schedule, 7 p.m., 9 p.m., rolling out programs over the weekends. With digital TIFF Bell Lightbox, all the films go at once. When people have it, and it's ticketed, by the way, so when they purchase a ticket, they get 20. They have 24 hours from the moment they push play to watch the film or the short film program. So it'll be an interesting experience for us as well to see how that works out. But I'll be letting you know if we can do some outdoor screenings for sure. Leticia, did you do anything in terms of screenings other than, I mean, in your own country? Have you had other screenings in other parts of the world other than the Female Eye?
Well, yes, in January we had a world premiere at the Global Film Festival. We were the opening night film, and that was just before the pandemic hit. So we got to do like a pretty big screening at the National Theater. It was awesome. But then the rest of the festivals, most of them anyway, have been virtual. We were also the opening night film at the Festival Semana Internacional de Cine de Santander.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it was not virtual. It was an actual screening. I couldn't fly over there, but we were happy about that. But then virtually we were at Miami Film Festival and also HBO's New York, Miami Film Festival, Atlanta, Omaha, among others.
Are you going to continue? Are you going to continue with the festival screenings?
Yes, about our sales agent, he has advised us like to slow down a little bit on those because he's now, doing a sales strategy. We were the official representative at the Oscars from the Dominican Republic, and he wants to capitalize that. So he says that we should be careful on the next festivals that we're doing because most of them are virtual, and I mean it's just slow down a little bit, he said.
Yeah, it's a strange time.
Yeah.
Nora, what are your plans? You have HBO.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we've been some festivals as well in Firenze, Cinema Donne, which is also focusing on women filmmakers, and
Which film festival is that?
Firenze International Film Festival, Cinema e Donne. They are doing the festival for 40 years now or something, so they are really big and old festival. And that was the international premiere, and luckily we had a national premiere because not online but in person, and that was really good. And since that, yes, we all the festival that we took part was online. And now this is the first time we were in another Canadian film festival, for example, a Canadian International Comedy Film Festival. We were there and won the Best Comedy Film Award, and also in the Paris International Film Festival, where we won also a lot of awards. So we were quite, we took part maybe 6 or 7 festivals, but we almost all the festival we won something. So it's a success circuit till now. And now the film is going to go to Moscow, and there it's a live festival going to take place in April. And in Los Angeles, there's another festival. So and the LA Comedy Film Festival as well. So there are some festivals that already we know that we're going to have in the next few months. So we will see.
Are they live events?
There are many festivals who says that they try to shift their dates to be able to make it live rather than create an online festival. So it's not an easy decision, of course, and I think that there are advantages as well, because probably we could not talk to each other like that if it's a live, or maybe I could not travel, or I don't know. So and of course, on other hand, it's always better to meet in person, of course, and talk with other people and have the response from the audience, know that. But I also think that sometimes I feel that I could connect so many people, and I can take part almost every week in a festival and meet people, and maybe I could not do this and travel around the world. So there are advantages as well, but of course I just can't wait to get over the whole thing, and I think that I'm not alone with that. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the chat to see, remind me of the play, Nikita Halawa said, for Jentis, Pooling to Paradise occasion. I'm going to pull it up because this is the nice thing about live stream. See, there you go.
Oh,
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's weird. I got a private one I thought from somebody else, but yeah. So you want me to respond? Yeah, no, as I was saying, I was definitely inspired by No Exit, in its presence, where it's, for people who are trapped in hell with people, that was their eternal life, but you had to be with the same people. And that's why I said, like, I really did, like I said, existential philosophy as well as Jungian stuff and Nietzsche are all important to me in my storytelling. And I like to, because it's kind of looking at existence and and essence and existence. So that's always when I'm writing, like I start with the story, and I think somebody asked, I mean, I was in an Uber with a friend, and she was like the characters are all composites of people I know, and I went out to and we were with an Uber driver, and he was talking about Plato and how misogynistic science fiction was because he loved it, and how his mom was a feminist. And we were talking, we got to the destination where we were meeting another friend, and I'm like, will you join us for dinner? So it was kind of, the movie was inspired by a dinner with an Uber driver and two other friends. I was third. And during dinner, he said, oh, my friend found love in paradise. And he told us this kind of story that inspired the story. So I sort of took the story of his friend finding love in paradise, it didn't quite go the same way in my movie, that his story, but he told us that story. And then I go, oh, wow, here we are, three people. And one I had just met 2 days before, and the other was a good friend. And I'm like, look, we're kind of three strangers and an Uber driver till 2 a.m, having great conversation. And that's sort of what inspired it. And then to Nikita's question, I like to then frame it philosophically.
And I wanted to ask you something before I lose sight of the question. I wrote it down earlier, but Caytha, you integrated animation.
Yeah.
In your film, and I just wanted, was that something that you knew you were going to do when you were, in the screenplay stage?
Yeah, well, because there's this moment, because again, it's a lot of people talking, and it's interesting because I did a storytelling event, and we all are very familiar with Moth and storytelling and stand-up comedy, and I feel like you can hold somebody, and theater does it all the time. And so I wanted to have confidence that my people, my characters could talk. And even though it's a film, you didn't need to cut away to a million things and have other things going on. But there's the memory point to it. And I really needed this memory. And that's kind of what is, and I really looking forward to seeing both of your films. But, like, it's inspired by this guy looking for somebody he loved. And I just feel like we create these memories of who they were and are. And so I thought, instead of having, when he's telling the story of why she left him, I just thought, if we do it with animation, it's more how our brains work when we are in memory versus a literal flashback. I mean, it was kind of written as, and when I wrote the first draft, it was like flashback, and I just was like, that's kind of cheesy, and I just felt like I wanted us to be in his head of how he was sort of seeing it, which is how I think we tell things, and we kind of in that dreamlike place. So that's why we went with that, and Roxy, she loved the idea too. So
yeah, no, I really loved it. I loved it that his trauma was animated.
Yeah.
The breakup, it was just great.
And then, how it is at the end, it's, I wanted to play with that he has this fantasy, how we remember things romantically. And then you see the person and they're not quite, this thing we've, not in a bad way, but it's just how we create these memories and that is the whole thing. When people break up, you always have these romantic memories of what it was. You don't really remember the bad. You just have these memories of, romantic memories.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was really well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was nice. Very nice. So I wanted to ask each one of you what is it that you hope, what is it that you want the audience? I know that we haven't seen much, people haven't seen A State of Madness or Cream, but what is it that you want the audience to take away? What is it that you want them to experience and take away from your film? After they watch it, what do you want them to experience? Nóra.
Yeah. First of all, it's a romantic comedy, and it's like sometimes you laugh out loud, but mainly during the whole time we have some humor there, So I think that's one thing that during this challenging time, it's really good to see something like just escape from reality for a few hours. At the same time, for me, it's it's the protagonist is perfectionist, and somehow to just accept that we are not perfect, and failures, and things that we don't do good, and it's good for us at the end, because that kind of romantic perfect world that love songs and romantic comedies suggest are just kind of fake, and that's only one thing that it's really easy to say that these are bullshit, but it's in our mind since when we were 4 and seen the first Disney film, and since that it's just building up, and somehow you're chasing for that, and it's not so easy to get rid of it, even consciously that it's something that it's fake. You still desire for it, and somehow just to see that, to have a mirror, and to see that different relationship works in a different way, but somehow just to able to forgive the other, because he's not or her not perfect, and made maybe mistakes, and just to understand ourselves, and don't want to be the best all the time. I think that's that's something that maybe can help to get closer to be happy at the end.
Right? To embrace our flaws and our imperfections and our preconceived ideas about love, and who we should love and how we should love and what that looks like, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Leticia, what do you hope that the audience, the internet, I know that there's, your film is settled in a very specific period in your country's history, and it's universal. It's also a very universal story. I think that we can all relate to. So I wanted to ask you, what is it that you hope people take away from your film? What is the experience that you want them to have?
Well, I guess that being from an island in the Caribbean, where historically we're just a mixture of everything, of Africa, Spain, Europe in general, and of course the local Aborigines, is all matters of identity become a very big thing. So the first thing I would love people to take away from our film is, hey, we exist, look at us, and we have this part of history that shaped who we are. For me, one of the main things that excited me the most aesthetically about the film was the fact that I was shooting a period piece. I mean, for industries that have, for film industries that have been going on for a pretty long time, probably it's not a big deal, but for us it is, to be able to tell that part of the story that hasn't really been told by a Dominican before. Most of the films about dictatorship from our country are shot either, for production companies in Spain or the United States. So for me, it's just owning that and just letting people know a part of our story, a part of our identity that is really complex and interesting and full of the mystery and sometimes surrealistic things that the Caribbean has.
And you mentioned that the screenplay itself had been around for a while. It had been moving through the industry. Yes.
Yes. Yes, because this type of film is intimidating for us because, as I mentioned before, we don't really have a tradition of shooting period films, and also for me, when I saw myself on set having to direct 19 actors, all of them with dialogue, and it's not an easy project to grasp. And I guess that's why it took such a long time to find the right moment to be shot.
And aesthetically, speaking to the aesthetic of the film, it is like noir. It is dark. It is dark, and it is moody, and it is visceral. Like you can feel that location. Was that an institution, a hospital that had been abandoned, or
Well,
it?
we actually built it on studio.
Ah,
90% of the film was shot on Pinewood Studios in the Dominican Republic. And it was very important for us to create this microcosmos, to give the feeling of this smaller world reflecting the outer and the craziness that was going on the society back then, where people lived actually in paranoia. We had our psychopaths that were the dictator and the people that worked with them. So, and also the idea to show a different Caribbean, that from the postcards that you used to, having this bright, colorful place, and just to have that opportunity to show a different aesthetic and to be able to tell story differently was very alluring to me.
Yeah, beautifully. Well done. You definitely accomplished what you set out to achieve. And I just thought of something. It really is interesting because it is the powers that be that are truly the insane ones. It's like there's an expression, and I hope I get it right, but where the patients are running the asylum,
Yes, Dr. Zaglul says at one point, the real problem here are the sane people, not the crazy ones, I have a big problem. The sane is the sane,
Will the book be translated? I would love to read the book that the movie is based on. It's not available in English right now.
No, I believe it's only available in Spanish. Yes.
There were some things that were absolutely horrific. The turpentine, some of the treatments that they actually imposed upon the patients was just unbelievable. But I mean, in North America, they did electroshock therapy and all kinds of other torture, lobotomies and all kinds of things to people right into the 60s, I think. So, but the turpentine injections in the legs so they wouldn't run away and all of that, just incredible.
Yes, they injected on the legs so they couldn't run, they couldn't escape. And of course, we know the lobotomy was really extreme treatment. But now, I think, and I think Hollywood has a bit of fault on that, because actually electroshock therapy is not bad if used properly. The problem is the way it has been used and also portrayed in many of the films.
Yes, it has to be used properly. Absolutely. Not that I would be signing up for it. I actually had a great aunt in the late 20s who was very young when she was institutionalized here in Toronto at what was a notorious mental health facility. And I remember my first film is actually based loosely on her story, but it's very Frances Farmer. But they did electroshock therapy sometimes to her 8-9 times, in a week. And she eventually became an elective mute. She stopped speaking altogether. And then, of course, she died of natural causes at the age of 45. But you have to wonder,
Yeah, definitely.
But you want to just chime in on that, because I do know friends that are severely depressed that are alive because of electroshock therapy. So to everybody's point, like when done with a doctor that knows how to cares about mental health, because because especially during this pandemic, so many people who are maybe a certain level of depressed have gone to that very bad place, and it really has kept many people who've contemplated suicide alive. So, but when used badly, like any,
Right? Like anything. I mean,
yeah,
they have years of study as well, so
yeah,
they're not experimenting on the patients anymore,
no.
which is probably advantageous for all parties involved. So, what are you working on now during this pandemic, this global pandemic? Now that you've finished these projects, what are you doing now, Nora? What are you doing?
I'm writing my second feature film now. The script, it's based on a Dutch novel, and it's a family film. Yeah, it's about a 13 years old girl, and it deals with a quite serious topic because her mother died, and she has to cope with that. At the same time, it's playful and full of humor as well. And I hope that we can make it with international co-production.
Is it a contemporary story? Is it set in?
Yeah, it's absolutely a contemporary story. It's about, I think it's really important to show children stories that are contemporary. It's about their life today, what they have to cope day by day, and how they are surrounded by. So it's not a fairy tale, but it's a real story about real people.
Great. We look forward to that. What about you, Caytha? What are you doing?
Yeah, so, like just continuing seeing this project through. And I shot a short last week, actually, that was such a wonderful thing because, as we all know, making independent features or any sort of features is such a huge undertaking. And there's this time that you have to sort of recover. And I wrote a kind of a short, it's a pandemic love story, and it was with two actors on a park bench who meet up. And so it was a very COVID safe story, and I cast two actors who I'd worked with before that are married. So it was just a small crew, and we shot it outside, and it's a really beautiful story, and I'm really excited about that. And I directed that, and we're just wrapping up post. So perhaps next year at the festival you'll get the short.
Yeah, I would love
Yeah,
that. How long is it?
it's 12 minutes, and it's called April Showers. And so that I just did, and that was just very, easy. And we rehearsed on Zoom, and they were so excited. And so I've been dabbling a little bit in theater stuff, and I did a storytelling event that I produced and wrote a story for, that was done virtually. And I created a YouTube channel for that, which is kind of women. I call it Women at the Crossroads. And it's like a moth-like event. So I did it 2 years ago live. It's through a local kind of community arts that does a Women's Month. And so it's telling stories about women at crossroads, which is similar to what Pooling to Paradise is about. Like, I like that when people, are faced with a challenge, and particularly women. And I feel like women typically are faced with more times where they have to make choices and situations, and how, as a result of what comes next, is how we're sort of stronger as a result. So it was a storytelling event, and I'm putting it on YouTube.
So what is it called? What is it on YouTube?
It's just called Women at the Crossroads. It's a YouTube channel. I can just send you it. I haven't done the full push out, as I took the stories and posted them. And again, they're all like in that anywhere from like 5 to like, some of them are a little bit longer. And it's been really, really successful from the audiences. And I'm going to get back into, we're working on a play version of Pooling to Paradise. So as theater comes back, it's a little bit different because there were some things that didn't translate as well. And I could go deeper into a play. And yeah, then I've got to just buckle down and get on the next screen, because everything I do starts as a writer. And like I said, I do produce things, and I'm producing this Sexy Secrets of Great Art, which is this fun little art YouTube series by a guy who was doing all these art tours at the Metropolitan Museum. And when that shut down, we kind of brought it there. So those are fun things that I can produce because, as we all know, we're all, no matter what you do in independent film or in film festivals, what we do is we get things from A to B, and we're very good at that, whether it's on a set or there. So I enjoy doing that and helping other people fulfill their, visions and being practical about that. And then, like I said, I've been doing just some memoir writing. And so I'm doing that as well, where I post those on Medium or try to get them published.
Great. Wow.
So that's what I'm working on. I wish I could have a simple answer like Nora, be like,
no, you're busy. This is so good. We're gonna.
This whole thing. I want to be able to just say, I'm writing this new script based on a book. That would be the answer I would like.
No, this is wonderful. I mean, I think women are very resilient and creative, and I've been talking to a lot of fellow artists, and it seems that people are either really moving forward and just keep going and writing and creating. And I don't know if you saw 1/9, which is a chaptered film involving 9 Canadian, well, not just Canadian filmmakers, but it's actually, you wouldn't have seen it because it's having its world premiere on Friday the 26th on Encore Plus. So if you have an opportunity to see it, please watch it. It's an interesting, it's a very interesting feature. And they did it during COVID, and it was Ingrid Veninger who said, I'm going to get these directors and we're all going to shoot just something personal and reflective of this situation. And all the directors that spoke about it last night were talking about how it was really wonderful for them that they had this mission and they had made this commitment to finish this short film that would become part of this bigger film. And I think it's either one way or the other. Maybe you're either moving forward and you giving yourself, you create, and that's how we process our experiences, I think. But there are other creatives who feel, who have said, I couldn't write, I couldn't do, and I haven't been able to do anything. I'm just incubating and waiting, for the moment to be free. I just think it's a fascinating process for everyone in terms of what they do and how they do it, and if they do it or they weave in and out of it, Leticia, what are you working on?
Well, I guess I'm still trying to deconstruct the Caribbean because I'm doing science fiction and I'm developing a science fiction project, and it's a film about a love story, actually, about what is believed to be the last man and woman in the world, and of course they are in the Caribbean. And everything will be, paradise will be absolutely destroyed. And that's the idea. Still very rough.
Are you writing
but I'm very excited about it. Yes, I'm co-writing with 2 more writers, because since it's science fiction, we really want to have like a specialized team working on this. And yeah, I'm very happy the way the script is shaping up.
I'm going to check the chat, but I would like it if you could each just share, how did you actually make your film? Did you have production partners? Were they international co-productions? Were they story, inspiration, writer's statement? I did read that. Hang on. Oh, okay. Somebody's sharing something. Story, inspirations, in the writer's statement. Yes. Okay. So how did your production come together in terms of the financing, production, post-production, independent, tax credits, government, private investors? I'm always curious about that. Nora, how did you?
Yeah, in Hungary and most of the in Europe, we make film by state money. So it's in a way, there are advantages and disadvantages with that too. But mainly there is one national film fund, and you can apply there with your film or submit your idea or treatment or script. And then there is a committee, and they decide on whether you can get first found for development, script development, and then for pre-productions, and then for productions, and then it's like step by step. And in each gate, you can fall out or you can go towards. And we were lucky enough to get support for the production as well. And that's how. So it was quite simple in a way, because it's only one gate. And you go through or you don't get in, and that's it. So yeah,
We have a similar thing in Canada. So, but sometimes you will get funded for a script development, and you may not get production financing.
yeah, it's the same here.
Yeah, so you don't know. It doesn't mean just because they come in early that they're going to go all the way with you. Is it the same there?
Yeah, actually, for the script development, now I'm in the script development phase with my second feature film project, and it's we get the money for the first draft, and then we have to apply with the first draft. And now I'm waiting the response, because we got some support for the writing the first draft. I finished, I submitted, and now I'm waiting if they let me continue to work. So, and this is like the second and the third draft. And once you get it, and then it's a big step again for the pre-production fund. And once you get the pre-production, then it's not 100%, but like 90% usually, then you get the money for the production as well. But of course, sometimes it happens that you don't, but it's really desperate. You know, when you already prepared for everything, and you have the casting and the locations and everything, and then you're standing there, just you have to push the red button, and then they say, oh no, it would be, I don't know, for any reason, it's really hard. Sometimes it happens, but luckily, like really 90% you get the money then.
What is it like there in terms of gender equity between men and women, male and female directors? Is it equitable, same, or is there some disparity between?
No, there are no rules for that here in Hungary at all. Actually, what I can say that the committee who decides on the film project now consists of 5 men.
No women?
No.
Ever?
No, before there were women as well, but now it's a new committee, and it turned out that there are only men, and it's like that at the moment.
But that's okay, because that worked out for you. Yes, the men.
Yeah, it doesn't mean.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they don't support women filmmaker at all. It's just there is no any kind of rule like that. That not for the filmmakers, not for the decision makers. There's no rules for that at all.
Well, we fought here in Canada in 2016. A lot of very strong femme-centric organizations, Women in Film and Television, St. John Women Film Festival, Women in View, others. And we joined together at St. John's Women's Film Festival, and we held a conference for 3 days. And we came up with a proposal for the funders, our public funders, to say, we want more. There was a gap between the women and the men and who was getting the funding. And we really fought for that, and we really put them on the hot seat. And there were some changes made, like actually implemented in paper in terms of criteria. Of course, they gave a low budget film fund, a new initiative for micro budget productions, of course, for women, because we can't handle the big ones, the big huge production financing. I don't know. So it was one step forward, but still, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. What about you, Caytha? How did your funding come together for your production?
Yeah, in dribs and drabs. We don't get that luxury. So yeah, of any sort of state or government. I mean, there's credits and things, but when you're doing super low budgets, I mean, I did do the post credit in New York for post production tax credit, but yeah, no, it's just private equity and
Wow.
stuff like that. Just putting it all together. It's pretty hard. Each one gets harder and harder, sadly, because they're recouping. I
Oh,
mean,
right.
it's just there's the money's it's hard. It's very
So
hard.
are they philanthropists who
Yeah,
invest?
yeah, yeah. Not I wouldn't say full. Like people who believed in the project, believe in me. I mean, they're they want to get money back, but um, but it's just that's why I keep the budgets low. And we have a distribution deal that's giving us some money up front. You hope. And my other film, like my first film, went into net profits, and so again, it's doing private equity and putting an LLC together, and it's that whole rodeo.
Well, we're a little jealous of that here in Canada because we wish we had opportunities like that. We
Yeah,
we have public funders,
yeah,
and that's great that they take the money from the taxpayers and they put it in arts and culture. I think
yeah,
it's a great thing
yeah,
because it shows that we care, um, and that it's a value, but it's also everybody's going to the same trough,
yeah. Yeah,
and
I mean it's hard, but we have a glut. I think that's why there's just a glut of films because I always feel like anybody can talk somebody, if can one film they can get some doctor or dentist to believe whatever you tell them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
But
think so.
it's
I
hard.
think women are really good at that. Women are really
Yeah, but I
good
do think
producers. We know how to we
well,
know how to ask.
I do think yeah, I agree. But I also think it is I part of this. Oh, I think she's from Canada. Oh my God, here I'm going to have to not be on recall. She is. It's she's a wonderful woman, and she does fundraising, and women are much. I mean, she's not in film, but she raise helps women to raise money, and just saying is women have a much harder time of getting money from investors, although women tend to be more successful at it.
Yeah.
And she's out of Toronto, and I'm
Oh, you got to tell me her name.
yeah, I know. I'm going to go look. Hold on. I mean, she does
No,
these
no, I'm joking. You don't have
no,
to.
no, no. I mean, I'm just saying she's a good person to know, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of a pay it forward model where she just gets all these women to put this money where you make an investment in a sort, and it's not really an angel way because you don't really get back, but you put the money in the pool, and they support each other, all these other women to help get their businesses off the ground, and then one gets this sort of the funding,
That's
and
great.
yeah, and
It's
it gets
wonderful.
give them, and I will look for it while you keep talking.
It really is about, helping. I think it's wonderful when women help each other,
Yeah.
and we pay it forward and we pave the road. It's really important that we
Mhm.
do that. Leticia, how did you fund your massive film?
Here we have a very good tax credit incentives, and if you manage to convince different companies, you could finance 100% of your film, and that's very good, very attractive. On this particular occasion, I didn't do co-productions, but all of my other films were co-productions with other countries that have similar
Hmm.
tax incentives, like for example Hungary or Spain or whatever. So co-production is something really attractive for me as well. But in the case of the State of Madness, yes, it was funded 100% by the government through the film law and its incentives.
That's great. Fantastic. Especially given the story, the true story behind the film. That's very progressive. Yes.
Yes, yes, it is.
Hmm. Well, Canada has co-production treaties, I think, with 52 countries, except the United States, which is always very strange to me because we're the closest neighbors.
We want to be the 53rd.
There you go.
Well, but there's all the American production companies that use Canadian tax credits. So we send
Yes, they do.
we send a lot of production to
We
Canada.
we have a lot of American productions in Canada, and they're crewing with Canadian crew, and the tax credits are great, and the dollar, whichever way the dollar swings, they'll get more bang for their buck, as it were, shooting in Canada for sure. Let me just check the chat and see what's going on. Can you read? I don't know. I can't. You know what? I put the cursor on the little window and then it disappears. So I don't know. This is tricky. This is slippery.
Well, if it's the comments that we're all seeing, unless you get other things, it doesn't look like there's anything new.
Nothing new, right?
No.
And I wonder if we're getting the feed from YouTube. Anyway, I don't know. We had 42 people on viewing the panel last night, and there were very few questions. But of course, if they didn't see Caytha, your film, and they certainly haven't seen Leticia's film or Nora's film, what can they ask? And I talk a lot. So,
but we've been so wonderful and explained ourselves so well. So
what was that?
That we've been so wonderful and explained ourselves so well that
yes.
we don't need to ask questions.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm on the panel and can't wait to see both of your movies. So you've definitely gotten me really, and would like to collaborate with everybody in this room.
Yeah,
let's make a common film.
Yes, yes. Some of the we're dealing with the geo-blocking of the films at TIFF Bell Lightbox. So if the films are fully geo-blocked to Canada, and you're outside of the country, you can't see the films. But I'm thinking that maybe we can do an exchange, an internal sharing of our film for a short period of time. If people want to, not our audience necessarily, not the general public, but our community of filmmakers who are participating in the festival, that we may share some links, and we'll cross that bridge once we finish the festival.
Yeah, because I think you probably all have it on Vimeo with password protection. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then they're not downloadable, but
no,
No, I'm just saying is we set that. So, just as we share screeners, there's the private. But both your films, and I know Leslie Ann, you make great films too. So it's so nice to get to meet all of you. So thank you.
It's been so wonderful having you all.
Likewise, guys.
Yes, it's so exciting.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work and having you back to the festival physically. And when we can travel again, I'm going to Hungary. I'm going back to the Dominican Republic. And Caytha, we are like an hour away from each other.
Oh, I know. I jokingly call Canada upstate New York. But I want to ask you, what are your plans for the 20th? Because you've now the 19th and probably the 18th, you didn't get to do it. So your big 20 years, you must be going to have.
Oh, no, we did it. We actually were invited to TIFF Bell Lightbox in 2018. So if you can imagine, we had a festival in November 2019, and then in March of 2020, 5 months later, I don't know, I can't do the math right now, we actually decided, I don't know what it was in me, I was so determined that we were not going to miss an opportunity to show films at TIFF Bell Lightbox, because they had invited us as a third-party festival, which is a great honor to be a partner festival of TIFF, at TIFF. So we decided to move forward with the support of the board and actually show films in March of 2020, just under literally the day after the film festival.
Isn't your 20th anniversary next year? But you got that.
Well, technically, we had our inaugural event in 2001.
Yeah.
And then we missed a year in 2004 when I got a divorce. It's a long story. It's actually a short story, but anyway. But in that year, we produced some other things. We did the December 6th program, and we showed films that dealt with violence against women. And I started mentoring young women on the production of their first short films. We did a lot of outreach that year. But we didn't have a festival in 2004. So we're actually 20 years.
Oh.
But it is our 19th edition because we missed that one. We missed that 1 year. But we did have an event in 2019 and 2020 just under the radar of COVID.
Yeah.
Literally, I was supposed to be in Beirut the day after the film festival at another women's film festival and in Chile. A week or two later, everything just shut down. Just like that. Boom. So, by the way, we do curate. I do have foreign sister film festivals that I curate some programs for when they invite me to do so and they ask me to. So I may be knocking on your doors and saying, would you like to show your film in Turkey at the Flying Broom? Or, there's some wonderful other, obviously, film festivals around the world. So that will be celebrating your fabulous work. What a great honor to have you at the Female Eye. And I want to congratulate all of you because really our program shrunk so much to how many films we could show. It was a very selective process. There was no room for a mediocre film or, on a scale of 1 to 10, it had to be a 10. And you're all 10s. So
thank you.
Truly, congratulations. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work.
Thank you so much, Leslie Ann.
We are friends. I'm sending you all a big hug. Thank you so much for your time.
Good night.
Thank you. Good
Nice
night.
meeting you, Nóra, Caytha.
Yeah, you too. It's great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.